and welcome to This Week in James City County. I'm your host, Renee Dahlman. As you can see, we are still in COVID-19 mode, and our podcast is a video podcast. And so we're just going to do the best we can, and it's going to be great. Today, I am once again joined by Rebecca Venroot. Rebecca is the Director of the Department of Social Services for the county. Welcome, Rebecca.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Well, you actually requested being able to do a podcast like a week ago. I don't get very many people actually requesting, so that's very exciting.
I might regret that.
No. But you've got something coming up called Resilience Week. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes. So Resilience Week has actually been planned for about a year to be celebrated the first week of May. So the purpose of Resilience Week is an opportunity to help build resilience for all Virginians. And when you say, well, what is resilience? It's the process of adapting well in the face of adversity, trauma, tragedy, threats, or significant sources of stress. So in other words, it means bouncing back from difficult situations. And I think right now, that's something that we're all experiencing. So the reason why I asked you to do a podcast is because it just felt like a really good time to talk about the fact that we are all experiencing something fairly traumatic. There's different levels of it. And so how can we celebrate bouncing back from that situation and becoming resilient?
So I can't believe the timing. That you said that you started this a year ago. So what sorts of events are there going to be? Since we all can't be together, what do you have planned?
So I will say I'll have to give a lot of credit to Richmond. There's a network called the Trauma Informed Community Network. Sometimes we refer to those as TICINs because we love our acronyms. So the TICIN in Richmond actually started the planning for different activities. And at the time of the planning, obviously we didn't know that this was going to happen. So there were activities that were planned, such as screening a really very informative documentary called Resilience, which is about the science behind the effects of trauma on people's mental, emotional, but also physical health. But obviously that can't happen now. So in Williamsburg, we also have a TICIN, which is a group of diverse professionals from all over, different providers, public, private agencies. And so we started to talk about how we can celebrate Resilience Week. But now we've obviously switched to more virtual things. So some of the things that we're going to do is there's really not necessarily a lot of concrete things. It's more just sharing the notion of what is resilience, why it's important to build, and it's actually fairly easy to build. So relationships, reaching out to people, taking time to check in about how they're doing, even if it's a text or a phone call or driving through the neighborhood to wave. You've seen a lot of people doing the neighborhood drive-by parties. That is a wonderful way to just let people know that you care about them, that you're thinking about them, that they're not necessarily isolated. And so that can help to counteract the negative impacts of the stress that we're feeling. There's things you can do at home, like coloring with your kids or even the adult coloring books. Mm-hmm. You can play music, walks, there's all kinds of things that really the purpose is to just counteract the negative impacts of stress. So if you're feeling really stressed and the trauma starts impacting you physically, because we know that can happen, then how do we build resilience to counteract that?
Okay. So what would you say your favorite way is to build resilience?
Well, I have a few ways. So I am currently in the midst of homeschooling. I have a kindergartner and a fourth grader. And so I'm working full-time, my husband's working full-time, so we don't really get a lot of opportunities. So there's a little bit of stress going on. So one of the things that I'm trying to do with my kids is to take walks at lunch. So we're all in the house and we're all trying to do schoolwork and work and taking the opportunity, even if it's raining, even if it's just around the block, just something to get out and get some fresh air. Also, been doing some coloring with my youngest, and that's really been fun. Playing some music, doing like silly dance parties, you know, just anything that really is a break from stress.
So I know that you have some ideas of things that we're going to be able to do during the week on social media to promote Resilience Week. What are some of those things that we can look forward to?
So there's actually a website that the Richmond Ticket has put together. So hopefully we'll be able to share some things from that. There's some trainings that professionals can take advantage of. There's an event, there's a yoga class that I know that they're gonna be doing that's online. So I've heard some things about Zoom yoga, which I actually haven't done yet. So that's something that I'm gonna look into. So really there's just, it doesn't have to be big, it can be small. So I think just posting different things like Mindful Monday, you know, how can we be mindful of taking care of ourselves? Because I think that's something that everybody is having sometimes a tough time about right now. You know, we're certainly, there's people who are having a harder time than others, but no matter what you're experiencing, just taking time for yourself and being mindful of taking time for yourself, I think is a good way. So I know they've come up with Trauma Informed Tuesday. So what is trauma? There's, I think, a Whimsical Wednesday. So some of those silly dance parties might be good for that. So really there's several ideas, but it might be nice actually to have people share their own and things that that they might do, so that we can, again, all learn from each other, because they've really shown that building relationships with people and having positive relationships can work. So I think that might be a good idea to have people share their own.
I love that idea. That is great. People can even take pictures and send them in. I like it.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, that sounds good.
yeah. Now, I know that social media is a great thing. Everybody loves it. Well, mostly people are able to connect with one another. I know that sometimes it's a little too much for some folks. And you may think that if somebody, say Instagram, somebody is posting this Instagram fabulous life and they're not having any problems with it, those are just little snapshots of their lives. And if people are having a hard time, like you've said, we're all in this together. And I know even with myself, sometimes it's like everything's great, I'm good, I'm happy, and then all of a sudden, not happy. It goes back, and it's learning what to do to take care of ourselves and each other, I think, is really great.
Yeah, I think one of the things is just acknowledging that this is tough. I've, been experiencing that same kind of random crash of feelings. And I think, the body can only take so much, and something that an individual who is really versed in the whole notion of adverse experiences and how that can cause trauma, he once told me the body doesn't know what the trauma is. So, you think about horrific things that can happen, like child abuse and domestic violence and all of those things. So that we all certainly say, well, that's traumatic. But really, being isolated, a significant change in your routine that you didn't plan, we're all experiencing that right now. Some are having a hard time finding food, so that is significantly traumatic. Others are just, trying to deal with homeschooling, which is necessarily something you think of as traumatic, but it's not something that I planned. It's not something that I anticipated. And to be honest, it's not something that I'm really trained to do. Teachers train for years and years and years, God bless them. And so, I shared that with my friend recently. I was like, I just want to get my kindergartner to read. And she said, people go to school for that for years and years and years, right? So it was really good to hear. I just need to manage my expectations. And I think that's really something that everybody can do right now. It's really about whatever it takes to get you through the day. So whether it's, turning off social media and just, we all know the pandemic's happening. Do we really need to check on every 5 minutes, what's going on? You certainly don't want to be so disconnected that you're not aware. But I think it's good to take a break, go outside, work in the garden, go for a walk, just sit outside. Anything I think that can just kind of calm yourself it's amazing how something that people think is so simple can really have a profound effect.
Right. Well, and I've seen where I have some friends that are like, well, I'm learning French and look at this painting that I've painted and blah, blah, blah. It's okay to say, you know what? I got out of bed and it's okay. And I really want everybody that's watching this to hear that it's going to be okay and we're going to be okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I was in a meeting yesterday with some colleagues, and I had what I call one of my sidekicks in the room because he really wanted to be close to me. And so I commented later to a colleague that the meeting went well because it was the first time we've done a virtual meeting. And she said she enjoyed seeing my sidekick. And I said, well, he was doing his version of homeschooling, which was an educational video. And she said, hey, whatever it takes. And I was like, what? That's my new homeschool motto.
I like it.
Learning comes in all forms, right?
That's right. That's right. Well, I know that you as the Director of Social Services have access to a lot of different resources for people. If it's something as simple as where to find food or financial help if needed, things like that. And I would like to, if I could, at the end of this video, just have a couple of slides with all of those telephone numbers and emails and websites that people can go to get more information, because we all need some help.
Yes, absolutely. And I will say, I think for our area, March 13th, Friday the 13th was the big day that everything started to shut down. And I was just amazed, not really surprised because I've seen it happen before in this community, but the fact that all the community providers and everybody came together. We were on the phone over the weekend, early the next week. And I think really right away, there were so many folks who said, how can I help? What can I do? There was food being delivered, being, set up for drive-throughs. And I think, basic needs are so important to make sure you take care of right now. So I just really want to thank all the providers who have come together and really made sure that that's important. And, shelter, helping folks, even if they don't have a place to stay right now, and hotels, making sure people have help with paying their rent, medical insurance, all of those things. So I know, you've done a good job of revising the website for James City County. We recently revised our website for our department page, which has all the information on there. So I think there's a lot of folks out there who have not received assistance from our agency before. And I know that it can be hard to ask for help. But one thing that is good about our system is that a lot of it's online or over the phone. So you can really do it in the privacy and the confidentiality of where you are. Because these programs exist for a reason. I've said, and others and colleagues have said, you're really just a lost job away from having a crisis. And certainly people are really experiencing that right now. So it really is okay to ask for help. And so I think that's something that we need to just continue to put out there. And, I heard somebody say the other day that it's not that we're all in the same boat, we're all in the same storm. And so
I like that.
People have different boats. Some people have yachts, some people have dinghies, some people have speedboats. It's really different. And so if I have a dinghy and you have a yacht, maybe you could help, or, the system of the benefits, it might be a cruise ship. And so, we're going to throw you a lifeline. We're going to help you out. Because that's what we're set up to do.
Well, very good. Well, Rebecca, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. And again, I think it really could not have come at a more opportune time. And the Trauma Informed Community Network will be continuing to meet. We have a lot of good initiatives that we're hoping to get off the ground. We know it's a lifelong process to build resilience. So we're gonna see what we can do together.
All right, well, thank you very much, Rebecca. And I think this turned out pretty good.
Yes, I think you made it very comfortable, Renee. Thank you.
Okay.
The first time for everything, right?
That's right, absolutely. Okay, thanks, Rebecca. Well,
Thanks.
that wraps up this episode of This Week in James City County. Thank you so much for tuning in. And especially thank you for everyone's patience on not giving me a hard time about this week in James City County, because it's been kind of this month, we're all doing the best we can. So, but thank you so much for always checking in and trying to get more information. I'm really looking forward to Resilience Week. It is something that we all need. And thank you so much. And we will talk with y'all next time. Not sure if it'll be in a week or a month, but soon. Take care.